the thing. So I'm gonna go live and we'll just like chill for a few and then hopefully wait for them.
That sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Oh, we have 10 people waiting. Damn.
Yeah.
The masses are here.
Our most popular stream ever. Let's go. The thing. So I'm gonna go live and we'll just. You heard me for a second. Whoops, that was awkward.
Finally understand the Berg Jaeger meme. Yes, that's so real. That's so true. Oh, this is so cute. Keith saying, listen to these guys for years, thrilled to actually arrive in time live for an episode. Thank you. Oh, yeah. That makes me happy.
We have fans?
We have fans? I feel like, I don't know about y'all, but I feel like no matter how people feel about the ending, like positively or negative, it's kind of like a true like end of an era moment.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. We're all like on the same page of like so many people got into anime or manga with Attack on Titan, and now it's like, you know, now it's gone.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those important like milestone moments or like cultural touchstone moments that it's like you have to kind of watch it just to know where you stand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Attack on Titan was like, you know, I'll save this for when Cinders gets here. This is like a serious topic.
What does Attack on Titan mean to you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know how it's big when there's like a New York Times article written on it, which I just learned about. Like. Oh
yeah, you shared that on Twitter.
Oh really?
Yeah. Yeah. Let me send it to you. It's good. This is good pre-talk. Yeah, Replay sent it to me, and I was like, oh, I had no idea they had this article on it. And then I was like, oh, that's it. There's a cool thing. We can mention it in the episode because I kind of had a complaint about something, and then I read something else in the article. I'm like, oh, cool. I love this now. Thank you, New York Times. Let me send the link. I also don't have a New York Times account, so if you don't have an account, I can send the screenshots of it as one does.
I kind of hate that like a lot of these sites now you need an account. It's like you read part of the article and you're like, oh, this is really interesting, and then it's like, oh no, I can't read the rest.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't know if this works for all of them, but what I found is that if you like,
I'm just DMing it.
If you open the article and then do like select all, it'll let you copy paste the text in Notepad.
Yo.
That's my life hack right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, we got. Yeah, if not someone tweeted with the like screenshots of it. It's not that long, so.
Visit site. Wait, I'm gonna try this. Hold on. Control all. Nope. Let me refresh. Oh my god. It's like you have to hit it before it prompts you with blocks the article. Hold on, did this work?
I like the thumbnail Moz. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think this worked. No, wait. No, I didn't.
Oh, man.
They got me. They got me.
That's how I get athletic articles. I don't know about other places. Where is the thing that says vague comment? It's not that either. Why is that taking me somewhere else?
Yeah, I like the thumbnail. Did you both see the opening and ending that were actually not included with the episode, but were on like the YouTube channel?
Oh, there was like a true opening?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I didn't know about it until recently.
Like I remember people saying, "Oh, Linked Horizon is coming back for the OP," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." And then I see the show, and there's no OP. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. I mean, they do
it's
the
on
credits
their official
at the end, but
yeah, I don't think I saw it either.
Yeah.
The opening, I'm gonna say it. If people in chat disagree, go ahead. It's probably the worst opening. It's kind of weird. Eren is shooting like an arrow at some point, and it goes into fire, and then the other half is like recap clips. But like, it's cool seeing Linked Horizon back, I guess. But the ending is pretty cute. Like, I'll take that. The ending is a cute like Eren Mikasa thing. So I'm like, okay.
Huh.
I'm like, you know what? I'll take that. Whatever.
Wait, I think I did it. I got the whole article.
Let's go.
Let's go, Moz method.
Let's see, yeah. The interview contains spoilers for Attack on Titan finale. I'll read the article word for word on stream.
That would be pretty funny, actually. One of us can be the interviewer, and the other one can be Isayama.
That's fun. I mean, it is relevant to the conversation because he's like talking here about like how he could have done the ending, and it's kind of like, nah, I couldn't do it. So
Yeah, I kind of like that. That was something that I kind of had some beef on, but I don't want to get into it too much. But I don't want to get into the beef too much. But it like definitely helped like contextualize things in a really interesting way, and I definitely appreciate it. And now it makes me appreciate things more. Yeah, Kayla, I think I definitely get it as like the homage to the previous Link Horizon songs, but I definitely get that. That makes me appreciate it more. I just wish the visuals were like different. And then the actual ED of the episode that ends on, I can't listen to that song without tearing up. Yeah, that was a good last ending song. Does anyone know what the insert song was?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Probably won't know until the soundtrack comes out. It's probably one of like, Sawano's usual things.
Yeah, there were a lot of cool soundtracks.
Wait, no. I know what you're talking about. That was not a Sawano soundtrack. That was actually by the... Okay, let me look this up. I know exactly what you're talking about, and I like have the information about this. Because the guy who made it is the guy who writes the music for Millie, which is most notably the band that does the Goblin Slayer OPs.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see, where was like the specific thing written about it? I'm finding it. I'm trying to like figure out what this says. At least I think this is what this is. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Yeah, okay. Itarashai by Ai Higuchi. I think that's what that is.
That makes sense too. That would make sense. Or is that the ending song?
I don't know.
What was your favorite opening?
This is the ending song. I'll link it.
Okay.
And y'all can confirm for yourselves. It's that kind of like moody, smooth sounding song.
Gotcha. Yeah. The final song, I can't say that out loud, but someone posted it. Okay, thank you. That's cool. My favorite opening, I think I'm always kind of torn between the first Attack on Titan opening, Gurren no Yumiya, because there was a time when I didn't want to watch Attack on Titan, but every time I'd watch that opening, it made me want to watch the show, even when I was still like, I don't want to watch these like giants eat people back when in that era. So it was kind of like brainwashing me into wanting to watch the show, and I, commend it for that. But then I also like, I think it's at like My War. That one's just so weird and creepy, and like it fits the show so well, but it's like symbolic, and some of the visuals are just like not in the show. They're just made up visuals for this that still somehow feel really fitting. So I feel like Attack on Titan captures like both of my tastes in opening, which is like hype beast, shonen, meathead stuff, and then it's like weird symbolic stuff that is like really polarizing, and you got like half of the people hate it, half love it. That's like my taste in openings in a nutshell. So I'm kind of torn.
I love My War because I agree. It's just like so cool symbolically. That to me, that song is the sound of the apocalypse. It's just, it's like the end of everything. It's kind of like Comme sous ser Todd from End of Eva, where it's like kind of beautiful in this way where it's like about something that's so destructive, but you kind of embrace it, like you move towards it.
My comfort song of the apocalypse.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah.
Kamsusurtat is comforting in a weird way.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your favorite?
I kind of dug myself into this one, asking and not having an answer prepared. I'm gonna go with Guru no Yumiya because it was so iconic, but I'm gonna stick to the TV size version because I remember being very disappointed when the full version came out. Like I was waiting for months, like, oh, it's gonna be epic. And then it came out, and I was like, oh, never mind. That's the only time I've ever felt that way about any opening. So that was really interesting.
I don't think I've ever heard the full version of Guru no Yumiya.
I honestly don't have to. I don't know if you need to rush to that one.
I don't think so. I mean, if you're curious.
It just like completely switches tone and vibe to like a completely different song.
Yeah.
And after the first minute and 30 seconds, then they're like, okay, switch up, and then it's something crazy, and you're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the first minute and 30 like captured the tone perfectly for the show, and they were like, yeah, we don't need the rest.
Yeah.
That does tend to happen with anime openings. Like you can kind of tell sometimes that the band or whoever will like write the OP section, the first 90 seconds, and then the rest of the song is just kind of like stapled on. Like, oh, it's supposed to be 4 minutes? Oh, okay, we didn't think ahead of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny to think about because that was back in like 2012 or 2013. I think it was 2013. So that was like pre-TikTok days. So they didn't even have the excuse of being like, okay, we're only going to have 30 seconds of this played on TikToks and stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess also Vine. To give it. Oh, did they? I guess they had Vine. I wonder if were anime openings played on Vine that much?
Probably not. If it's only like 6-second videos, you can at least fit it in there.
That's true.
Yeah. That was like a big ringtone for a lot of people, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess I have to get a shout out. Speaking of TikToks, I think I've grown to appreciate.
There they are.
It's me.
Kono Dioda.
Hello.
Welcome.
Hello. I literally finished watching it 10 seconds ago.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Awesome.
We are talking about Attack on Titan openings right now.
Openings.
Yeah. We can end the conversation with your favorite opening.
I feel like it's got to be the first one, but I also liked.
Let's go.
I also, in second place, really liked for totally different reasons. I don't remember if it was Final Season Part 1 or Final Season Part 2, but the weird one.
That's
My War.
That's basically
yes.
what the conversation was all about.
Okay.
Like all of
Love
us
you,
said
Sinners.
those
This
two.
is amazing. We literally said those two. I'm so happy right now.
I mean,
Thank
I
you.
think it's there's not really much contest. Those two are like head and shoulders above the others.
I think that's kind
Let's
of fair.
go. I do like Sasagio, and I have come to like Rumbling a lot, ironically more so for Elden Ring edits somehow. But
Oh, I have to see these. That sounds awesome.
no, they go so hard.
Sasagio is good in a vacuum, but it doesn't have like the standout staying power that the other two do.
Okay, I'm glad that everyone here and then everyone in our chat likes My War. I think we are the most cultured group of Attack on Titan fans in a vacuum right now. I'm so proud.
We've proven our credentials, so now everything you say about the finale is 100% true.
We're all here.
Kurt said dystopian carousel music, and I so agree with that. That's what My War is.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I also want to shout out C5 for saying Red Swan. I have a lot of respect for anybody who says what Red Swan is the best one. I don't agree, but you can, you're allowed to stay.
That's how I feel, where I'm like, I don't really vibe with this one because every time I look at like Erwin's head, I'm like, they really just took like adult Erwin's head size and put it on a kid, and it feels very weird and unnatural. But I'm like, I like that people like it, and it was cool for foreshadowing the freedom thing so far in advance. So I'm like, okay, go off.
I do like the song for Red Swan, at least.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so it's our last Attack on Titan weekly.
Yeah.
And we haven't done this in like months because it's not a weekly series anymore.
Weekly. We didn't even like do the second season all the way through because unfortunately that was in maybe my most scattered mental state. So I just I bailed on that.
That's also how Attack on Titan felt as a release schedule, so
that was
imitates life.
Yeah.
It was a bit symbolic.
And yeah, then then they decided they're done with final season, but now there's going to be the final season, the final chapters, which was a 2-part OVA series, I suppose, or not, whatever you want to call it, ONA. Which
I didn't even know the first half of it had come out until months later.
You know, I saw it came out, and I'm just like, I'll just get to that when the second one comes out. I don't want to watch half of the finale.
I'm glad that I also did that. I watched the first half of it yesterday. Because if I had watched that in March, I would have been so mad.
Yeah.
But watching it yesterday, it did make me hyped to finish the series.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I was also in the same boat. When it came out like months ago, I was like, yeah, I don't care, like, because we're gonna have to wait for part 2, and so I kind of did the same thing, but I actually did it in reverse order. So I just finished watching Special 1 an hour ago. So
that is really smart, and I should have done that because I just watched it when it came out, but it probably adapted my favorite chapter, so I felt very like, okay, I remember what happens.
What's your favorite chapter?
But I think it's like it's the beginning of it's the beginning part, the special. It's 131 where Eren is he's like apologizing to the kid for genocide, and then he's like the kid in the sky, and he's like says freedom.
that's so good.
It was so good. And that was like, I think that was when 131 dropped, I saw it so much on the timeline, of course. And then I think that's when I like picked up reading the manga to like get caught up. So I think that's what inspired me to read it, because I was like, okay, this goes hard. Yeah, so that's when I became a manga reader. And I think they did a really good job with it. They also did a great job with the Hanji scene. I
was going to say that was probably my favorite like segment in the entire series.
Yeah.
Hanji's my favorite character, like, as is, but then just seeing them go out that way, it's like, hell yeah.
Yeah. I also likewise love Hanji. Thought that scene was really cool and like a good like final moments for her. I did think it made the rumbling look a little silly. That like
with them falling.
Yeah.
Well, just because she's like one person and she kills like 20 of them in 2 minutes.
It turns
like,
out
all you have to do is like fire one missile at one of their feet and it kills 6 of them.
Yeah, it turns out they're pretty fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way I took it is like they're colossal, but they're pretty mindless. So it's kind of easy.
Right, yeah, they don't even try to fight back.
They have one goal. They keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Just like me. Yeah, and that's one of the, I guess, manga fun fact was like when they had the Hanji chapter that came immediately after that, like you didn't really get a good sense of like why was Hanji staying behind to protect them, because it kind of didn't seem like she was doing that much damage. So they really did a good job of kind of showing like, okay, Hanji staying and warding them off with like, you know, blowing up their feet and stalling them a bit genuinely gave them time to like take off. So I think that kind of sentiment too of like just the anime really giving you a great sense of like scale and impact of various characters that kind of applies throughout. But that was like a really good example of like, okay, yeah, they really popped off with this.
Yeah, I think they did a good job threading the needle, because when she first said that she was going to like stay back to buy them time, I was like, what the fuck are you going to do?
Yeah.
And while I think that maybe making her do like be able to accomplish anything in that moment was going to feel a little silly one way or another, I think that they threaded the needle really well, and that it ended up being like a really hype moment, really good like crown for her character without just like ruining the tension or anything.
Yeah, I completely agree. Go Hanji. Yeah,
I can't fucking believe Connie lived. I'm so mad. I'm so pissed.
Of all people to survive the finale.
Funny.
Wait, I remember. Okay, now that it's all over, I can finally have flashbacks to our previous Attack on Titan weekly stuff. And every week, Sinris would be like, Connie is going to die. It was a constant thing. Connie was going to die.
Like, I think it was in our first weekly for like the final seasons. Like after the first episode,
we did the first 4
the
at
beginning
once.
of final season. Yeah, I said verbatim, like, oh no, maybe I said it in the Discord. first, like before the season started, as like, okay, like we have exactly 3 jobbers from the original crew left. It's Connie, it's Jean, and it's Sasha. I was like, Jean has plot armor because he's special. They don't have the balls to kill Sasha, so Connie's gonna die this season.
I definitely remember the legendary
Yes.
Sasha misprediction.
Yes, that was my favorite prediction. Yeah, and Connie survived.
Yeah, like I made my friends watch the last special with me last night, and they actually they didn't know it was coming out yesterday. They weren't invested. They were just like, why? And I was like, well, we watched it 10 years ago together. It's meaningful. We're gonna watch it together again. It's like, no, we don't care. And then I ended up putting it on, and my one friend, I didn't actually know this, that he actually dropped off a long time ago. Like he stopped around the Historia stuff. So he had no
That's like
context.
second season, right? End of second season.
Yeah, end of second season. Yeah, going into like the beginning of third.
Yeah.
And so like he had no context, so like we had to like explain some stuff. But as soon as the episode started and he saw things playing out, he's like, "Wait, Connie's still alive?"
Imagine going from second season straight to the finale.
Yeah, he was just more bewildered that Connie made it to the end.
Imagine seeing like all of Levi's squad getting wiped out, and then you're like, oh, okay, here's more of the side characters, and then you're like, how the fuck is Connie still here? Everyone who's fallen, and this guy is the one who's still here.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then we had to stop a few times to like explain everything he missed. I'm like, okay, this is why this is happening. And then at one point I was like, oh fuck, we gotta explain paths.
I was about to say, and then they get to the paths and you're like, we're not stopping for this one.
Actually, I did it, and he's like, it's fine, I don't give a shit. I'm like, okay, cool.
It is kind of funny though, like those first 2 seasons of Attack on Titan feel like a different show, like altogether.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because season 3 is when they started with like the political stuff, and then that like leads into the Eldia Marley stuff.
Yeah. I kind of think of it as like a story in like 2 halves, where I feel like season 1 through 3 is like the first half, and then season 4 to final part 1 to final is like the second half.
Yeah.
But even it did start changing, like even in season 3, and I think that's when I started getting like super invested in it. And yeah, it's funny to see how far we've come, and Connie's still here.
I mean, I just remember like, I obviously didn't read the manga or anything, but I would remember hearing secondhand from people like after whatever content in season 2 happened to the manga, people would be like, oh yeah, the manga like totally falls off. It gets like political. It's kind of boring and it sucks now. Like, people, like, really did not like Attack on Titan in the middle of the 2010s. Everyone was like, where the fuck is this story going? They're still not in the basement.
It's so funny hearing that. Go ahead.
Oh, no, all I was going to say was, like, I've had a weird, like, chronology, I guess, with, like, catching up to Attack on Titan, where, like, I started with the anime, then couldn't wait, like, on episode 5, binged the manga, then I was caught up with the manga, then watching it weekly, then fell off when it started getting political with, like, the Historia stuff. So I was like, yeah, where's this going? And then got back on once season 2 was fully animated, and I got really invested again. I'm like, oh, this was amazing. You know what? I love this. And then like really got into then finally finished that story with season 3 animated, and then I like really enjoyed it again. So it was like really like falling off and coming back onto it.
I always thought that they handled the transition into the political stuff really well for a series that was like totally not that going forward. Like
Definitely.
the shift in tone is like I always remember a moment when they're fighting the military police for the first time, and what's his name, Kenny, like shows up for the first time and everything, and after that fight, Armin like having his existential crisis about the fact they're like killing people now. I always thought that was really powerful.
Yeah.
That's what I'm always going to remember Attack on Titan for. Like, I'm always going to remember for setting itself up with really cool and unique action, and also these really intense, like, overwhelming conflicts that present this just like miserable atmosphere throughout the entire show. Just this super depressing, miserable, intense atmosphere. But then like halfway in, it brings in a lot of like high concept stuff, I guess, or maybe not necessarily like high concept, but just lots of different things in terms of just plot development and structure, like with all the perspective changes with other characters, like when you get into Marley in final season, and like all that stuff that happens. Like, I'm gonna remember Attack on Titan for being able to do that and actually managing to weave in all those extra bits without losing the original core of what like made the series cool in the first place. Like, you still get the really awesome and unique action, and you still get those overwhelming stakes where it's like, all right, we've got these just people. How are they going to defeat the big colossal bone man? Like, how the fuck? That does not seem possible.
Totally agreed.
Yeah, I think you put that really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what I'll remember.
I feel like Attack on Titan for me was always most enjoyable. I guess from what I said earlier, it makes sense that it was always most enjoyable for me, like on a binge, like on like when you could have all of it available and not have to wait, like weekly, because you'd forget stuff, or it would have these big hiatuses where you kind of lose the momentum. Not hiatuses, but like the long wait between the parts, especially when it got split up in the final season. So there was a lot of like plot points and things that would just be like kind of easy to forget.
Definitely there's a lot of stuff in this series that's easy to forget.
Yeah. I think what's probably the most impressive thing about Attack on Titan, when there are so many impressive things as you guys have already listed, is that I've never seen a series have the entire attention of like the anime community and the somewhat of the larger community of the world, like, getting into that like gray area between normie and anime community, like meme culture on Tumblr and stuff, like having that community essentially losing its momentum and then regaining its momentum at another point in its series. I've never seen that happen. And I think that does speak to the immense quality that it had, both in the initial hook of that like overwhelming sense of despair and desperation, trying to fight against these like larger than life creatures that are just existing to destroy you and your humanity, and then coming back with that sense of like maybe like kind of political world building and different presentation of the story and events and changing perspective and tone, and coming back and making that so interesting, and the like kind of the circular nature of the story where Eren starts off as a victim and then he becomes like becomes the ultimate murderer that he always kind of set out to defeat. So I think the way that the story is structured really does lend itself to be the worldwide phenomenon that it became twice, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Because I hadn't really thought of it that way, but a lot of things do like lose their momentum, and then people just stop caring, and maybe it plugs on for a while longer, but nobody's paying attention anymore. But it's so rare for something to go through those phases and then come back and be popular again.
And it's crazy. No, I was just gonna say it was crazy because Attack on Titan was one of those anime like early on that kind of struck a chord with like more of a global audience. Like, it reached so wide of an audience that I would hear people that had nothing to do with anime being like, "Oh, I'm watching Attack on Titan," or "This Attack on Titan show is like really good." I'm like, "Oh, okay, interesting." So like a lot of people got into it, and it kind of became its own phenomenon. Before like, now I feel like that's more easy with a lot of other titles because it's become more widespread. But Attack on Titan, like, I think sort of started that. Yeah,
and that was back before you post like a Sakuga clip on Twitter and it goes viral and then everyone's watching it. It was like, I remember seeing it in like I was in college, like I wasn't watching anime at the time, and it was like me and like 10 other people were watching Attack on Titan on Netflix. And then like I remember seeing like GIFs on Tumblr and stuff when I wasn't like actively following anime stuff. So it's really cool to see how it's come full circle.
Yeah, that's how old Attack on Titan is. We saw it on Tumblr.
I saw the clips on Tumblr. I still remember the post, too. It was really
big on Tumblr in 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the post, too. It was like, it's a clip from the opening, the first one, where all the scouts jump up, and the clip and the text was, when mom says it's time for dinner. Classic Tumblr, 2013 Tumblr humor, and I was like, this is pretty funny. I still think it's funny, but it's embarrassing if others don't think it's funny because I'm posting talking about a Tumblr clip from 10 years ago. But so what's kind of cool is so Onimaru and I did read this part like 2 years ago and talked about it then. But did any of you guys like have any idea like what was happening in this, despite it being like probably one of the most spoiled manga endings of all time?
No, believe it or not,
absolutely no idea.
Yeah, believe it or not, I had not seen. Like, the only thing I saw was the famous "No, I don't want that" panel. I saw like talked about Mikasa a little bit, but I had no context, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
I don't think I even saw any of that.
Okay, that's awesome.
That's awesome. That's great.
That's amazing.
You guys are like fresh.
Yeah, I guess I'm like really good at avoiding spoilers somehow, because the only thing I've been like actually spoiled on in like ever is the recent JJK stuff.
Sorry.
Cool. Yeah, that's been tough.
Well, I don't really care about JJK anyway, so whatever.
I will blame the Duolingo account and not my account, which it might be my account, but I will blame the Duolingo account for being shameless. But yeah, so I'm excited to hear what everyone thinks of this episode. I feel like this has just been such a long time coming. I have no idea how anyone would feel about this. Like,
so we just get into
You've just been in it too deep for too long.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen possibly every opinion on this ending, because you know how when it dropped, everyone was freaking out. I think the overwhelming opinion at the time, which I think it was April of 2021, is that the time?
It was right around the time the last season ended.
Yeah.
Whatever that means anymore.
Yeah. So I think it dropped, and then it was the overwhelming opinion, I'd say, was like disappointed but not series ruining, even though apparently like a lot of people claimed it ruined the series for them. And then because people kept complaining so much, I think people were like, actually no, I like it, and like started revisiting it. So like we had that, and then Isayama dropped 139.5, which was like extended for the manga volume. Like he added a couple pages. That's where we get like the tree post-credit stuff. That was all added afterwards.
That was added afterwards? I was watching that and I was like, oh, is this what everyone hated about the ending?
No, so they hated so the original chapter, for reference, it ended with Mikasa and the bird's like pulling up the scarf and then like flies away. That's where the original one ended. And then Isayama added the tree stuff after.
That's a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching that and I was like, oh, this is nice, like showing like the city in the background developing over time, and then like my jaw slowly gets wider and wider. That was like some Platinum End shit.
You become the Mr. Incredible meme.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess we just talk about we just get straight into the ending.
Oh.
Let me ask then, as someone who's just been hearing about how controversial the ending is for so many years and know nothing about what was coming in the future, what exactly about it does everyone hate?
Well, one thing I just I guess we should have mentioned too is you guys are familiar with AOT Requiem, right? Because that's also what came about.
Yeah,
Well, I was going to ask about that too.
I should have mentioned that at some point, maybe in 2021, there was now like I guess the discourse had gotten so big that people then decided that they were going to rewrite the ending somehow.
Yeah.
And there's like this fan movement called Attack on Titan Requiem. It's like, oh, it's an Attack on Titan rewrite.
Yeah. What happened with that? But so there's two camps of the Attack on Titan Requiem people who also become the AOE people, anime original ending copers, who thought it would get an anime original ending. And it's kind of like a conspiracy theory, and they were looking through details of like opening lyrics or like other stuff for it to be like different.
They're so fucking stupid.
I fucking love conspiracy theories. Like,
same.
That's the funniest shit in the world to me.
I love it. I've respected people going so hard, and it's just like, at some point you got to respect it. Like, it's delusion, but it's like organized delusion.
Honestly,
so,
I don't, but I'm kind of glad it exists because it's funny.
Yeah, we can look back on it and smile.
It's like the people trying to petition Mappa to remake Chainsaw Man. It's like,
yeah,
that's not how shit fucking works.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I don't know which I don't know which is more disrespectful when I think about it. Actually, it's probably the petition. I think that's a bit disrespectful.
I mean,
for what it's sorry,
rewriting an ending too. That's kind of disrespectful.
Yeah, that too.
We could do it better.
For what it's worth, that at least had like maybe a little bit of smoke at the very end because Isayama said that, oh, there's going to be some changes made to the rough draft because it wasn't entirely what I wanted in the manga. So then people got their hopes up again, like, oh, he's doing it.
Yeah.
It did occur to me at one point while watching this. I was like, huh, I wonder if any of this is anime original.
Yeah. There are some changes.
Yeah, they basically changed, from what I hear, they changed the dialogue or added some dialogue, whatever, with Armin and Eren at the end.
Yeah. To go to the question of like, what did people hate about the original 139? I'd say it comes down to like a few key examples. Mostly, people had an issue with the Armin and Eren conversation in certain contexts. You get the one, let's just say more of the Attack on Titan Requiem variant. They didn't like him crying over Mikasa because they thought that he was supposed to end up with Historia, and they thought he was the father of Historia's kid. So that was a real ship sinking event for them, and so that was tremendously bad. And they found it was like out of character because he was Chad Eren now. So they didn't like that. I think everyone, kind of as a whole, didn't like the original line, which was thankfully removed. Thank you for committing genocide for our sake. That one. Which was removed.
I see this, and I almost want to believe that it was like maybe this was said in a way where the series was kind of like taking the piss. Like this was kind of sarcastic. Like, oh, thanks for doing this horrible thing. Now humanity can move on. And like honestly, nobody actually really wanted that to happen, but I guess it happened anyway. So we'll just kind of work our way from that, I guess.
Yeah.
The problem with reading it that way is that Armin's smile seemed pretty genuine when he said that.
I get it. Like, I get what he was going for. He's like, you committed this transgression. Like, you did all of this for us. Thank you for trying to do so much to save us. But, like, at the same time, thank you for turning it yourself into a mass murderer. Yeah, but it's, like, so meme-worthy. And then, so that, and then I'd say it comes down to those two. Those were the two big ones that I think most people were like, okay, I can't overlook this. It was pretty much those two. And I think they've mostly been kind of rectified with the anime original changes. They definitely there was a lot of stuff that was implied in the manga that they just kind of overtly said, like Eren's "I'm a slave to freedom." That was implied. That wasn't actually said in the manga. There are a few other examples that I was trying to think of, but like, a lot of it was just like they gave the conversation a lot more time to breathe, so to speak, and they were just talking more, which I think came in handy because it's probably the most important part of the episode is like the entire like hearing from Eren's side. Why was he motivated? What did he do? So I'm glad that they gave that more time to breathe, and I think the visuals they added, especially at the end of like the sea that they were cherishing going to, the ocean, turning that into a sea of blood. I think that was a really nice change. I don't know. Onimar, can you think of any other ones I'm thinking?
The only other things, I'm trying to remember the part where Eren is telling Armin about, where he's explaining like it was inevitable and Armin's like kind of grabbing him. Was that also was that originally in the manga where like, did they extend that part of the conversation a bit where Eren is just like, yeah, I couldn't have done anything about this anyway. It was all like pretty much that was the future. So like none of it could have been stopped. So I don't know if that part like was added like a bit more to that to make it like clear like that he had no other choice.
Yeah, I think they extended that a bit, but they did kind of imply that with the like flashback to him as a kid. Like that was in there and they're like, oh, like I just wanted freedom kind of thing. They did include that, but I don't know if they overtly said like. Yeah,
and then then they made Armin's line like, we'll see each other. Well, we'll see each other in hell. So that they did that whole thing about no, we're going to hell for this, buddy. So,
yeah.
That's that way to make it crystal clear. The only other thing I guess I would say, which was my issue with it, was that I think you already touched on this, that it had more room to breathe, because
Yeah.
going from 138 to 139 was a very, very jarring experience, especially because like you've got all of that and it was all within the span of like just one chapter, and it kind of went quick. And it also went from being in the outside world to suddenly like the chapter starts off and you're like in this other plane with Eren and Armin talking, and then him, being like this, and I don't know, it didn't have that room to kind of feel like a natural like progression. So I think that took away from it a little bit in the original.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the general. I think that was the biggest complaint that I think everyone could agree on, no matter how they felt, is that like it was not presented in an ideal way, and it was like way too much for one chapter. So that's why I think I was definitely really happy we had such a long episode, and
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, it's a lot of complicated ideas to present in like essentially, I don't know, 20 pages. It's a lot.
Because it is essentially a recontextualizing his whole thing, like his whole plan within the span of all those 20 pages.
I don't know if that's true. I feel like he didn't say much in that conversation we didn't already know. It's
well,
just
if you're an Attack on Titan Requiem person and you thought Shadron was going to destroy the world and then go back to Historia, it was a big recontextualizing for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. The important part of that scene, like from a plot perspective, is that he's saying it to Armin, right? But we already knew that, like, oh, he sees all of the future in the past and is in like this causality loop where he's doing things because he's already seen himself do them.
Yeah.
All the stuff with Mikasa in that scene, though, is dumb as shit, though. The Requiem Chads are
they spitting?
Yeah, they're spitting.
Okay, that's a good transition into what did you both think of, I guess specifically that whole last conversation with Armin, but I guess just like the ending as a whole.
I would say that the ending has some flaws, but is mostly good.
I honestly didn't think too much of it. I was mostly just like, that's it? That's what everybody said was the worst ending of all time? That completely ruined the series? Maybe it would have been better if Armin and Eren made out. That probably would have made it more interesting. So I can understand people being disappointed by that.
I would definitely have rather had them make out in that scene than Mikasa kissing his head.
There might have been
didn't like that.
There might have been something beautiful about that if Mappa didn't draw it like total shit. I'm sorry, but Mappa didn't exactly do a lot of this justice. I feel like they've done a good job in general on their end of the spectrum with working on final season and all this. But yeah, this particular, the second episode, the second special, didn't look particularly good. Anyway, I think that the ending of Attack on Titan, just in general, like I find it kind of uninteresting, to be honest. Not even necessarily in like a disappointing and deflating way, but it's just kind of like, okay, so the point is that conflict is never going to be resolved, and that humans are going to keep fighting each other because that's just what they do, and conflict is always going to exist, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Okay, there are so many stories about this, but I also kind of understand it because I don't expect one fictional writer to solve the mystery to world peace or anything. So I just kind of felt like, okay, well, that is what it is.
It's kind of like I've been saying for many seasons now, it feels like. I don't remember when I started expressing this on the pod, but like the story is so written into like real world unsolvable problems corner that there's no way it could possibly have like a totally satisfying ending.
Yeah.
And so like, just given that we already knew that and there's no way around that, I don't think I was too upset by like, yeah, okay, so the moral of the story is that people will always kill each other for one reason or another, no matter what.
Yeah. Maybe the most revealing thing about the ending is that there's that end credits scene that basically just shows that the world they live in is basically the exact same world we live in right now.
Right.
Yeah. The cycle repeats.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, I think it kind of like threads that line of like, you know, if they had a completely happy ending, it would feel disingenuous and unsatisfying. But on the other hand, it's like, if it's a bit too realistic of like, you know, the actions of our cast don't matter in the grand scheme of things, that also can make it feel in retrospect a bit like, okay, but like, what was the point of everything?
Then what were we doing here?
Yeah. And I definitely get it, because I don't know, I guess I've been really unsure about how I feel about like the additional endings to like adding the tree stuff. I've been really like torn on that, because I guess I appreciate, the one thing I have always appreciated about Attack on Titan is that it presents a very like honest and real look at humanity. That idea that like hatred will never end, the cycle of violence will never end, because that's inherent to human nature. I think that is like very authentic and real, and I think people can relate to that a lot, and that's why they feel like Attack on Titan is doing like, you know, it's being as honest as it possibly can on the negative qualities of human nature. But at the same time, it also kind of like, even if Isayama didn't create the answer to world peace, I would like to see what he thinks they should try and do. And I think his answer is ultimately Armin's goal of like trying to foster peace. It's always the effort of putting forth to foster peace, and like putting that effort forth, trying to understand each other. And I think that's good, but it's just really tough to make that hit home, I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to, I think it's really hard to make that feel like the end result while also being honest with the brutalities of war.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because you can only like, I don't want to say it's a cop-out ending, but it is basically saying like the world would be a better place if people were nice to each other.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, gee, thanks. That's very insightful of you.
Yeah, it doesn't like try to present a solution. So like, if at least it tried to present one, whether wrong or not perfect, at least it attempted to. It's sort of just saying like, yeah, we're kind of fucked. Okay.
I do like this comment in chat though that Ginger Frog had. I feel like there is a bit of a side lesson in there about cherishing the small joys and camaraderies in life instead of succumbing to nihilism, particularly with Armin's conversation with Zeke, which I do agree with.
That is a good point.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Also have to give a shout out to Radman. I do think we can agree that post-time skip Eren is wearing a mask.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's tough too when the message of the story is essentially saying, you know, cherish the little things. I think that's a really good message, but that's also something that has not really happened in Attack on Titan that much. Like, we don't really have them cherishing the little things because they've never had time, but we also don't have like an episode dedicated to them hanging out and cherishing the little things, you know? And I'm not even saying they should do that, but it's like Attack on Titan has always been such a like intense, thrilling, heavy story that it's tough to say like, hey, kind of like chill out and, you know, take a breather once in a while when the series has never done that.
Right. Like there's a reason that the thing Armin points to as like the reason to live is a scene from like the first 5 minutes of the first episode, and it's because we literally haven't seen them do anything nice ever since.
Yeah. I feel like, what was it? In this episode, though, I guess what they added that was anime only, that wasn't in the manga, were the scenes of Gabby and Falco gardening or planting like stuff. Levi giving out the candy.
Okay, why was he doing that? why is Levi handing out lollipops to kids?
That was weird.
It's funny, I think.
I mean, it was hilarious, but I'm like, really? Levi's gonna hang out with kids?
I don't know. I was just like, I just didn't understand what was happening, but I was like, I guess this is nice.
I thought it
You
was
know
funny. He like hands one kid a piece of candy, and then he pulls out the lollipop and he looks at it like, "What the fuck is this?"
What fun fact, another complaint that was smaller in scale is Elena, the like really tall Zeke's #1 fan.
Yeah.
She didn't make a single appearance in the last chapter. So no one had any idea what she was doing. So I appreciate them showing her kind of like forced to help with them and her tearing up at like a baseball mitt and baseball. That was a very nice touch for someone who didn't even show up in the ending. So I will take that.
Yeah, because the last time she was seen before that was when they interrogated her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was on the
she's
boat.
like, okay, but admit I was right though.
Yeah. Is it her and Zeke being like, okay, but I was right though. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I think it's definitely an interesting ending too, where it's kind of almost like the first time it came out, like before they added the chapter with the tree, the version with the trees and stuff. I feel like it's almost like they kind of had to try and like walk it back to be like, actually genocide is wrong and this whole thing is pointless. And I do think they at the very least conveyed that genocide is pointless, because some people thought that was genuinely the answer the story was trying to tell them, which don't know what to tell you there, but that was a take that was unfortunately a bit too common.
We've got Jaegerists and the others in real life.
Yeah.
I think that the ending in general is just kind of, it was just kind of like, I feel like that was the only direction the series really could go in without like completely BSing it. If there's anything that I am happy about, it's that despite the fact that they did have some kind of high concept stuff with like they reveal at the end, oh, Eren actually knew everything like all along and he was just kind of following this path. I'm glad that it didn't transition into him like time traveling back and then trying to like undo it or something like that.
Yeah,
like we didn't need any shenanigans like that.
No Steins Gate in my Attack on Titan.
Yeah, no like crazy BS happened at the very end that was trying to like, you know, force its way into a good ending. It's just like, nope, the thing's got pretty out of control and now 80% of humanity is dead. So
he can't go backward, only forward.
Yeah. It's kind of like this series, you know, it kind of has a resolution where now Titans are forever gone. So at least these characters can kind of have some sort of peaceful ending, as peaceful as it could be. They don't really change the world or anything. They don't change how people operate. And they also don't undo the fact that 80% of humanity was fucking killed in this, and that sucks.
Yeah. And the fact that also he did it mainly for his friends, not really to save people.
Yep.
Yeah.
But then also to ensure they lived a long life.
So that was kind of part of the waffling at the end that I was like initially kind of hung up on, was like, he's like, I did it for you guys. And then he's like, actually, even if you guys didn't stop me, I would still do it for me. And I guess that's also a kind of a cool conclusion to have, that like Eren wasn't about finding a solution other than like just wiping everyone out. Because like when he saw those picture books of like the outdoors, the world, and all its glory, and it wasn't like tarnished by humanity, I guess. Like that's the future he wanted to create.
Yeah, it was kind of like based on a misunderstanding. Like he says, oh, when I found out that there were people beyond the island, I was disappointed.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think that's a really cool angle to look at it from.
Yeah. I think that's really cool. And that was
it's interesting in a way that doesn't really play to any of Attack on Titan's themes, which is maybe why that line appeals to me so much.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a thought about just like the romance and adventure of like living in the empty world and discovering the unknown, only to find out once you get there that like, oh, it's normal out here.
Yeah, like that whole like everything inside the walls existed outside the walls, and it was
actually, the way I read it as too was more like, because when he was behind the walls, he felt like he was in a cage, and then when he went outside of the walls with finding out what humanity was actually like, it's like he could never be free. So it also still felt like another cage instead of this empty world that could be his playground. So I feel like
that's true.
Yeah, so that's how I read it. Like,
I like that actually.
Yeah, I like that. C5TG asks, what do you guys think about the plot twist of Eren killing his own mom and then it being glossed over after LOL?
Did it need any explanation beyond that?
I guess.
Yeah, I think like literally no feelings towards that reveal.
I think that was, at first when I read that, I was like, okay, that's a bit extreme, but I think that's also just supposed to indicate how far gone he had gone to, like, his initial source of rage was his mom getting killed, and now it's like finding out that he was originally the one who orchestrated that for his whole master plan. It just shows that, like, I think that's the whole character arc of, like, at first he's the victim, now he's the villain, so to speak. I think that just supposed to highlight that the most. So it's kind of grown on me over time. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say this is like the ultimate in like stupid nitpicky comments, but it's gonna bother me unless I say it, which is just that like the entire rumbling doesn't make any fucking sense. Like the logistics of there are somehow like in these walls enough Titans to like trample the entire world, especially in like a day.
Yeah, they had some hands.
I have thought about that. I'm like, how are they I know they're big, but how are they walking the earth in a day?
Well,
Like,
especially because we have context for how long it takes them to get somewhere. Because we were like, I don't remember exactly how long it was, but it was like overnight they walked from Parody to Marley, which is like the closest place to each other.
Yeah.
And then in like the next, I don't know, 6 hours that these movies take place over, they got all the way around the rest of the world.
Well, I guess one way to think about it, maybe because he does say in a line to Armin's like, can't you stop this? Like, stop this now. And he's like, well, like, he basically implies like the 80% haven't died yet, but it's inevitable. Like, I can't stop it. They're going to end up killing 80% anyway. So I think they're still going at that point that they're talking, I think.
I thought that my interpretation, since then he was like, okay, I'm going to erase your memory of this, but you'll remember it all at the end, was that whole conversation had happened at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
The wiki has saved us because I didn't actually know the time frame. It says over the course of 4 days after setting foot on the continental mainland, the rumbling brought about the complete destruction. So
yeah, so like how fucking fast are those things walking to circle the entire globe in 4 days? Like they would definitely have to be moving a lot faster than they're depicted as moving.
And also the conversation.
I recognize. I started with this. This is literally the most nitpicky complaint I could possibly have about the series. But
what are you?
I'm just throwing it out there. Yeah.
I mean, I do see what you're saying. Like when they did jump to all the Titans like in other countries and all that, I did kind of think like, wait a minute, when did that happen?
I thought that was like abstract.
Yeah. I thought it was like, oh, this is what's going to happen later if they don't stop it.
Right.
Yeah. I guess that is true. I don't know. I think it's I think it could. I don't know. I can't. I'm not power scaling the Titan speed. I'm not gonna pull out the math of like, well, their feet are like 20 feet long and they stomped over this distance.
Wait, no, I think you're onto something. Keep going.
Yeah, right. I can't power scale this. I'm just gonna say they had some hands. We saw them swimming. They were going fast swimming.
They
I
did
saw that.
swim pretty fucking fast.
Maybe if they just swam the whole place,
That's the part we didn't see.
Yeah. My only nitpick that it doesn't really matter because we keep moving forward, just like the Titans, is how Falco had like. He transformed once as a Titan, and he was able to perfectly, nail it, despite knowing that we had like an entire training arc for like Eren and everyone to master their Titans. But I don't care. The plot demands it. It worked out. He got to be a bird. They saved the day. I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
that's my only nitpick.
Yeah, that was a bit of a lapse in logic. It's like they mentioned this like oh, it's possible this could happen, and then they even like address it at some point. Like earlier in one of the other fights, they say, "Oh, Falco's like, oh, I'm going to turn into the Jaw Titan," and then Peak was like, "No, you can't do that because the first time you transform, it doesn't work." and then it worked
I
anyway.
couldn't remember if we had seen him transform like at the end of the last bunch of episodes or not.
Nah,
yeah,
he just swung it.
apparently, I thought he did at the end of final season part 2. I don't
And
know. I
like
read,
the fight at the shipyard, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
He might
I
have.
thought so.
Maybe he did, but I don't care. I'll be like, you know what?
Partial
He's just him.
transformation, because I remember seeing the beak.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Might have done that already. Okay. He's just him. He's just that Titan. He's got that Falcon in him, I guess. Because
While they're talking about him being a bird, what was up with some of those like other Titans?
they just looking really weird. Yeah.
Like, which ones were like the one that's a snake? What Titan was that supposed to be?
Is that just the other jaw Titan?
I remember there was one that looked like it had a fucked up brain.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can go back and find these. But yeah,
Like all the ones that were like just literally animals. I don't know what that was supposed to be.
Yeah, that was weird.
I'm guessing I know they said that they're like part of the 9 that like existed in the past, so I'm just gonna assume they've taken various shapes and forms over the years, and maybe at some point they were just like, you know, instead of like a warhammer, maybe they just had birds and stuff that they were based off of.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was just funny, some of those shots in that big fight where you've got like 10 different Titans with like their unique like armored human designs, and then there's a Dalmatian running next to them.
Yeah. The dog Titan. The Borf Titan, I like that.
Titan.
Oh, someone in chat says, what about the massive superorganism that I don't understand the existence of? How about that, huh?
That was supposed to be what, like the origin of Titan life, I guess?
Yeah, like the primordial.
That was the thing that like
the
attached
centipede.
itself to. That's the thing that attached itself to Ymir and the tree.
Yeah,
that was like the thing. Okay, yeah, that was kind of that's a good transition into stuff I like. I remember when they were originally gonna show like, okay, now everyone's getting turned into a Titan again. I kind of love that because it was kind of like we're bringing it back to like, you know, everyone's getting turned back into a Titan, and I think the send off that we had between Connie and Jean was really touching. I thought that was really cool. Naturally, it hit harder when I thought they were gonna die and they didn't come back in like 5 minutes, but I do appreciate that. I thought it was pretty cool. I think every time they reference being scouts, it's very cool and nostalgic. I feel like, you know,
I agree.
It makes me feel warm on the inside.
I also really liked in like the last scene on the boat when they referenced that, and he's like, "I'm military police, though."
That was really funny. It's so funny, and they just ignored her and kept talking. That was so perfect. And then, so I do have to bring up the best part for me was with the original chapter and still this. What did you guys think of the Levi send off when they like see the smoke of like their fallen comrades?
I'm trying to remember when exactly that was.
It's like right after like Mikasa kills Eren, and then they have like the smoke. There's no more Titans anymore, but then they see everyone still, and they're like they see the fallen scouts, and they see Sasha.
Levi is thinking about like everyone that died.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, that was kind of nice. It was kind of beautiful.
Yeah, I thought that meant that Levi was dying.
No.
So I was a little surprised to see him handing out candy afterwards.
Candy jump scare.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was nice. I think it was funny that Hanji's death like confirmed the existence of heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. How cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always love the trope of like unflappable, mentally tough characters just getting sentimental like at the very end. Because even before that, when Hanji goes off, he says, "Give your heart," and she's like, "You've never said that before."
Yeah.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought so. Even when the first the chapter originally came out, that was the one part that was universally praised. It's like everyone's like, okay, he got the best send off, and I think they did it mostly justice. But I do think that Mappa kind of drawing everyone kind of weirdly ugly for this last part kind of like hindered it a little bit. But I still think it hit hard, and I think it's like it's cool to see that, you know, Levi got a good send off that like brought everything around full circle.
The overall,
Yeah, it was great.
The overall message of Attack on Titan is that genocide is extremely cringe, and if you do it, you're ugly and lame. So
They
don't
made
do it.
everyone look so ugly. What were they doing? Like, what's up? They made everyone look so ugly in so many
Genocide
random
is not
shots.
sexy.
That like I've seen the like. There's so many shots of like. Oh, I do have to post one meme. It's really funny. But they have the one like you see everyone like they made Erwin ugly for no reason. His like, facial features looked weird. When John was pretending to cry about killing Eren to Mikasa. I mean, he was actually crying, but I saw a funny meme for that. I'm gonna post that.
Yeah.
But they made everyone look so ugly.
I did really like that they let Jean press the button on the detonator.
Yes, I do love Jean. Oh, I'm gonna post it in our our recording chat. Like, what is this shit? Like, why do they look like this? Why do they? I'm posting this for everyone too.
I do. I love that Armin face at the
That
end.
Armin face.
That's gonna live on forever.
Yes, that's gonna be a reaction face, and I appreciate it. Moz, can I DM you this and you show it on screen?
Yeah,
Because
I
I've
got
been
the
like,
Armin. I just put the Armin face on.
I got this. Let me send this one to you because I saw this and I started like dying, and I realized because it's like so funny. I saw this tweet. Yeah. Wait, you guys just have to see it. You see it and you get it. I can't even explain it.
Okay, I'm waiting for it to
Just-
come up on the YouTube video.
All right.
It's like everyone remembers John has a huge crush on Mikasa, and like it's like been a thing. It's speculated that he's like with her at the end. We still don't know that. Do you guys have
Yeah.
any thoughts on that?
I feel like the anime made it less obvious. Like I don't know. Like I felt like manga hinted there was more of a hint, and then the anime was like, nope.
Yeah. So I saw this tweet and I was like, okay, this is the funniest reaction I've
Okay,
seen.
as soon as this tweet comes up,
Yeah, it's
Speaking
on
of
our
I
Armin,
screen.
want to talk about Mikasa.
Yes,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
like a minute behind. It'll appear for me.
Maybe I should. I'll share my screen if that helps.
Content. This is podcasting.
I do
Okay.
love whenever.
There it is.
I just can't because it's like remember the original lines were like Mikasa, we have to kill Eren, but with this it feels like such a suggestion that we're like, okay, I see what you're playing. I see your
Yeah.
game.
God.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for humoring me. So what were you gonna say about Mikasa?
Oh, actually, one thing I want to say, I made the Mappa seal of approval, and I think that this has to be our first merch design.
Yes.
The Mappa seal
Yes.
of approval. I gotta find a way to print this as a sticker and sell it, and we're gonna make millions of dollars from this.
I think it unironically looks great. I think this will be great, and hopefully they don't catch us and sue our ass.
I mean, Mappa
Yes.
says that they want to be a household name.
So put them in your house under the Tokyo Podfather name.
That's right.
Okay,
This is
so
great.
I think the actual biggest issue with the whole ending for me is just that for so long Mikasa has been such a poorly managed character
Yeah.
that having her be like having the Mikasa is the key to all this moment. It's like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially because like they don't explicitly tell you what she did. So it was weird for me to kind of be like, okay, so to understand the ending, I need to like read into Mikasa's emotions, something that she like famously does not have. Just like the least expressive character I have ever seen.
Yeah. I think there's two things. So I'm probably on the same boat or wavelength as you. I think Mikasa's been always kind of like a bit of a frustrating character for me. I think I didn't read the manga for all of it, but I heard that the anime does not do her character justice, and they just make her like, more badass, so to speak.
She's my waifu.
Yeah, like kind of made her a bit more like pining after Eren instead of like other thoughts she had, or like, just they don't do her justice. So that's just full transparency. I love the role that she plays of like Eren originally saved her, and then she's the one who is taking him out. I think that's really cool, and I always love that decision. I do get you though, where you're like, so the key to getting through to Ymir after what, like 10,000 years of her kind of suffering along because, she's Stockholm Syndrome by King Fritz, is because Mikasa was able to kill Eren, who she was also in love with. Like, I don't see, it is a bit weak sauce. I feel like it's a bit weak in that regard, but I think that's what they're going for. Is they're like, okay, if Mikasa can let go of Eren, who gave her life meaning, for the sake of humanity, then Ymir can let go of her, like, years of revenge and hatred.
Yeah, I get what they're going for, and I think it's fine what they're going for. The issue is just that throughout the entire series, Eren and Mikasa have like negative chemistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there is never a single moment in the entire however many episodes and years of Attack on Titan where I'm like, these two people care about each other.
Well, that's why his confession, or whatever you call it, where he talks about his feelings for Mikasa to Armin at the end, was just like, okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Where he's like, I wanted Mikasa to pine after me for 10 years. You have literally never shown her affection once.
Like, I couldn't feel anything for that. I'm like, okay.
Right.
He was just a big tsundere this whole time. When he told her he always hated her.
He doesn't like slaves.
Like everything about their relationship is just like seeing their like stupid, like poorly written interactions being like, I get that you're trying to say that like they're in love with each other, but that's not what is actually happening here.
Do a decent enough job of showing why Mikasa is so invested in Eren, because, he saved her life and then she lived with him for whatever. So like they did a decent enough job selling it on her part. But I think, not to give people credit who, like, not to give Attack on Titan Requiem fans credit, but, like, the fact that it was a toss-up who Eren was going to end up with in the end shows that there was a bit of room for doubt over who Eren really cared about, or if he even had romantic feelings for anyone during this whole thing.
It's not like he ever displays, like, any sort of feelings for Historia either.
Yeah. That one they just kind of made up, but, like, I can understand why people were like, I never thought that he hated her. I knew that was kind of like a cover and he was trying to push them away. But I don't think that meant that, like, complete 180, he's also in love with Mikasa, which we've never seen indications of up until this point.
Yeah, I guess it makes a little more sense that Mikasa was able to, like, convince Ymir, given that both of them were like stupidly in love with like a terrible man who didn't care about them at all. But...
Yeah, I think the real problem is that Ymir is just not a very well written character.
Yeah. And she works as like a figure of like like a mysterious figure. She works more in that regard than like, okay, now she's a real character. You know what I mean?
Right.
And also, like, I think all you were really supposed to understand about Mikasa, because I know we don't get into her headspace or really into her feelings, is really she loves Eren a lot, and that's kind of like it, to get the point across. Because I guess there was this question that which Eren brings up, like, to her when he like talks down to her or whatever, like for the last few chapters, is like, does Mikasa, is she her own person? Can she think on her own? Can she make her own choices? Is she just like Ymir? Is she just a figure? Like just this badass that doesn't really just follows orders and can't really decide for herself. And then the ending is just culminates in her like, okay, well, I choose this, which is to kill Eren. So that's kind of the big thing, I guess.
Yeah. And that makes sense.
Mac his head.
She doesn't even kiss him properly. She just like give him like a lip nudge.
And I do think that it's like, because I ended up warming up to her when they had the like, okay, so she's the one who ends up killing him. And I thought that was really cool. But it does feel like in certain regards, like a bit too little too late for me to really warm up to her as like a character overall.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel.
That's disappointing because in like final season, they were starting to go somewhere with her that I thought was interesting, but they don't like complete that before the series has to end.
Where do you think it was gonna go?
It's not that I thought it was going anywhere in particular, but like I remember there's a scene where there's like the younger girl who's in the scouts now, who's like the girl that Mikasa saved like back in the first season. Who's saying like, yes, I've become a Jaegerist and am like going to commit genocide because I was inspired by you. And Mikasa's like, wait, now I have to actually like think about my actions and consider what I've done with my life. And, you know, it was nice to have a moment where Mikasa has to like think about herself and it didn't have anything to do with Eren. And she has a couple more moments after that in the remainder of that season, but it never like leads to any actual development for her.
Yeah. I guess this is the development that they're trying to set it up for, of like her seeing what she would perceive as like mindless slaves following Eren and realizing the similarities between the two. And it's like, I guess that would be, I think the counter argument would be like, this is the development for that.
Yeah.
But,
I guess so.
But to be fair, does that inherently make her a super compelling character at the, like, you know, final yard, so to speak?
Yeah, to be the one that like ends it all and is the key, and she gets a lot of the focus. I guess in that the tree part, you know, like the kind of ending montage.
Yeah, Admiral Kurd in the chat says she took off the scarf, but then she put it back on, so she really didn't move forward, and I totally agree.
Yeah. I took it as her, like, when she originally put on the scarf, it was like she's following Eren, and then when she had the vision, he's like, you know, just forget about me. And then when she put it back on, it was her saying, like, I'm choosing to remember you, but I'm still going to act as myself. That's how I took it, but I do appreciate the meme of scarf on, off, move forward. I do appreciate it. Yeah. But
remember when they revealed that Mikasa was the Princess of Japan?
What? No, I don't remember this. What are you talking about?
The thing that happened, Maz. You mean you don't remember that incredibly pivotal plot twist?
No.
I do remember that. It was a couple of final seasons ago, but...
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
There's a lot to forget.
There is. I did admittedly forget about the original scarf thing, so that's a good reminder, because I keep forgetting about the importance of the scarf.
I've never seen Attack on Titan before. I reveal this entire time. I have just made it up.
That would be really funny if we did an entire weekly series where one of us just like spoke like in every episode but didn't watch the episode, and at the end reveals like, I've never seen this series ever. And that's like the way we leave off. It's we're like, yeah, I've never watched this episode.
The entire time I just made up discussion points.
If someone's only knowledge of Attack on Titan came from listening to our weeklies.
Oh my god. I'd feel so bad.
Yeah.
Especially just like going off different tangents on things.
That's me with Star Trek Picard. I just watch the Red Letter Media discussions about it.
I guess that is me with the original Asterisk Spore series, where that's how I consumed it. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else.
I'm sure there's more.
I did find the anime ending obviously to be an improvement on the manga ending, so like I felt like, oh, this is better, this is good. I still felt a little overall on the ending like it's an improvement, but I still felt a little like you know, like it just didn't, like, it makes sense, I get it, but it didn't like, you know, give me like this emotional high or just feel like, you know, I'm like super excited about this. It's just more of like, yeah, I get it, it makes sense. I wouldn't call it bad, so it makes sense for the show.
It doesn't feel like the culmination of this long journey, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like whatever sentimental value we have of Attack on Titan ending is just simply based on the fact that we've experienced it for so long.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, we watched this story build to this grand epic conclusion. Instead, it's just like, oh, a lot of stuff has happened since I started experiencing this.
Yeah, another good point in the chat. Funny part of the special for me is when the guy is like, "Sorry, but prove you can't be a Titan right now," and then says no to a blood test, but it's fine as soon as Armin talk no jutsus.
That's a good point.
But that reminded me that whole guy was a really bizarre part of these specials.
Yeah,
the commander at that fort who's like, "Listen, men. It's the apocalypse, but if we survive, I promise I will never say anything mean about the people who committed genocide.
We're going to be friends, and we're going to hang out after this."
All right, Titans are gone. Fuck them.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then as soon as the apocalypse is done, he's like, "I'll fucking shoot you right now."
You guys almost stepped on me. It's over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when they were doing that on the side, and we're like, you know, like, we have, like, the genocide going on. We don't need to rehash the, like, people fighting over stuff thing still. But, like, I do get the point of, like, the conflict continues. I do feel like in a weird way, maybe it's because I've had time between the, like, original manga ending, like, 2 years ago and then coming to this. I feel like they did essentially as best as they could to make it feel like a emotional wrapping everything up. Like, you know, Gabby and Falco got to, like, hug it out. You know, Reiner got to see his mom. Annie got to see her dad. Like,
Connie's
all of
mom
that
is not stuck on the roof anymore.
Yeah, we haven't seen her, but, like, we know. Eren said so.
What happened with
Eren? Well, she was, like, in a Titan form that whole time, and she was, like, stuck on that house. And
yeah, but, like, what happened? Like, did she?
No, they didn't show it.
They didn't show it. Eren
we're just
just
assuming she woke up, kind of seeing her family.
Because everyone else who was Titans turned back into people, so.
Yeah, and Eren told Connie in the dream that your mom is safe.
Okay, yeah, okay.
It was a throwaway line, and it's Connie, so, like, it's not high priority.
I just
We're gonna trust the
appreciate,
word
given
of Connie
how,
now.
like, I'm so invested in Connie now for like, against my will.
He has to be top 5.
They had to be the line and be like, "By the way, guys, Connie's mom is okay."
We did. That's what's so funny about the original ending is, like, we didn't even see Yelena, who was, like, arguably not a big antagonist, but, like, you know, a bigger player than Connie's mom. And we knew what happened with Connie's mom, but not Yelena, which is really funny in retrospect. But they did fix that, so thankfully. I guess one thing I want to give, I think I completely agree with you, Onimar, that they did a better job in anime pretty much in every capacity. There was one line they added that I didn't like, but I'll get to that in a sec. I just want to highlight, I think they did a fantastic job with all of the action sequences at really portraying, like, the desperation of the fight on Eren's, like, skeletal back. And, like, they made that really intense and really made you feel like, okay, like, this could be over at any second if something doesn't go right for them. And that, you know, in the manga, it's like, it goes by kind of quickly, so you don't really get that same sense of scale. And so,
is that what the title of the series is about? They were attacked on top of the Titan?
oh my god.
Oh my god.
All along, the translation was correct.
Oh my god. That's so true. This really was our attack on a Titan. But the one thing, actually, I don't know if it's worth whatever, fuck it, I'm already in it. The one addition they added to the Eren and Armin conversation that I didn't like was the ultimate conclusion for why Eren did everything was because he's an idiot. I don't know why they added that.
So that was added, right?
That was anime original?
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't remember, and I'm like, I don't remember this. I was like, okay.
I
wasn't
feel
sure.
like knowing that that's anime original, I genuinely feel like that was a reaction to them seeing, like, all the people on Twitter who are like, the moral is that genocide is good.
Felt a bit meta, where they're like, anyone who thinks genocide is the solution is dumb.
Absolutely clearly here that Eren is a fucking moron and genocide is bad.
Yeah.
I thought Armin's "we're going to hell" was enough, but, you know, I guess to make it really crystal clear.
Yeah, and I think what they were trying to get at, which the problem is, like, if you're going to be so explicit about everything, you kind of have to be the most explicit, which is what obviously they chose that approach, which I get it, because we had 2 years of people not understanding the message. But I think the point that he was trying to say is, like, you know, because we know that Eren is, like, full of hatred and he's always been, like, super angry at the world and he's always had hatred in his heart, that the only solution he could come up with was genocide. But that's why he's like trying to give it to Armin because he knows Armin is a dreamer and he can see the best in the world, and he has that like sense of wonder, which is what he defended back in like season 3 when they were picking between Erwin and Armin. Like, we know that's how he views Armin and what he values in him, but I think he should have just like actively said it instead of like, well, I'm dumb, so genocide it is.
Yeah. I also liked when like I don't remember if it was like right in Levi's final moment, aside from the candy, or when it was, but when he was thinking about Erwin, and it's like, yeah, I am now sure that I made the right choice by giving the serum to Armin instead of to you.
Yeah, that was cool. I remember that because that's when they made Erwin look like really ugly for no reason. And it's like Levi remembering Erwin, and it's like, why are you remembering him looking that ugly? Like, no wonder you don't regret not picking him. You remember him looking like a 2-pack of ass. Like, that's like what is so funny about that. The one thing that was kind of cool to highlight, Sinners, I don't know if you were here for this, but Isayama did a interview with the New York Times, and there's actually a pretty interesting article that came out.
Oh yeah.
And I want to read this one part because since it's blocked for people behind a paywall. If this is an okay use of our time, I wanted to read one of the questions and answers that I thought was kind of cool.
Go for it.
So one of the questions he gets is, Eren says in the final episode of the anime that he had no choice but to follow the future that he saw, that he was powerless against the powers of the Founding Titan. Armin even asks if he's really free. Was he telling us the truth, or do you see this as him telling an excuse? And Isayama's answer to this is, so the truth is the situation with Eren actually overlaps in a certain sense with my own story with this manga. When I first started the series, I was worried that it would probably be canceled. It was a work that no one knew about. But I had already started the story with the ending in mind, and the story ended up being read and watched by an incredible number of people, and it led to me being given a huge power that I didn't quite feel comfortable with. It would have been nice if I could have changed the ending. Writing manga is supposed to be freeing, but if I was completely free, then I should have been able to change the ending. I could have changed it and said I wanted to go in a different direction, but the fact is that when I was tied down to what I had originally envisioned when I was young, and so manga became very restrictive art form for me, similar to how the massive powers that Eren acquired ended up restricting him.
That is an interesting answer.
So basically, all along, this was just one big meta commentary. Eren is simply trapped by what has to happen for the story.
He's trapped by the manga industry.
Yeah.
Oh, so Isayama was speaking to himself when Eren told his dad, "You started this story."
That's so funny. Gives new meaning to my favorite phrase from the series.
As always, the greatest villains in all of anime are manga editors.
Yeah.
Yo, for real.
Saw that firsthand.
Shout out to Kakashi Goto. You know who was a cool villain? I wanted to bring this up. A cool villain in Attack on Titan, Flock.
Yeah.
I had so much respect for that guy. Like, that guy was such a fucking asshole, and he was trying to ruin everything. But the lengths that this man went to ruin everyone's day, I had to respect that by the end.
I think Flock is a fantastic character.
Absolutely.
He's like the best shitheel villain I think I've ever seen.
Definitely, he's up there. But at the very end,
that after everything, after they cut one of his arms off or something in the fight at the port, and then he falls into the water, and he stays alive through pure shitheelitude long enough to stumble into the aircraft hangar in the background of that one shot and just fire off 3 shots that accomplished nothing.
Yeah.
Just a final moment of saying fuck you guys.
Well, it actually did fuck him up. It fucked up the fuel tank.
Because Hanji had to sacrifice herself.
That's true. Yeah. Okay.
So he's responsible for Hanji, so fuck him.
Yeah.
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 I do have to say though, even though I felt that way about the ending, I found what's helped me like kind of come around it a bit more and kind of like get more feel that like it was more meaningful than just like okay, I just get what I was going for and that was kind of it. Was I kind of went back and rewatched episode 1. Like I went back and then I've gone back through a few of the other stuff and then I watched special 1 and I'm like kind of getting all the context and kind of seeing it out of order, kind of how Eren was seeing it. It kind of helped. Just sort of like, I don't know, appreciating it more and seeing like thematically like everything that was kind of being built all along.
I would really like to kind of rewatch the series, especially to get like the contextualization of where the story ends up going. Because like I said, in that midpoint, some of those mid 2010s years, like we thought, like everyone said that the series was like going downhill, but then you find out eventually where it goes. It's like, oh, that was actually like super necessary and also really interesting. I would have I would have invited AJ onto this podcast, but I knew he wasn't going to make it because he's also like that's what he's doing. He's rewatching the entire series to get to the ending.
I feel like I would be so bored if I went back to season 1 now.
I rewatched it with my husband who like I think it was when season 4 was coming out or the final. It was like the Marley arc. Yeah, the Marley section. It was coming out, and then I went back to season 1 to watch it with him, and so I essentially did do that, knowing like what would happen later on, and it was very interesting to see what was recontextualized. But I've always found season 1 to be a bit boring compared to the later parts, so it was definitely a lot of like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool, but I found the pacing with the boulder a bit tough, knowing that like we had like 2 or 3 episodes of like the boulder stuff, and I was like, please get to like anything else.
Yeah,
I know what's coming.
I was really thinking that when watching the final. I'm glad you brought that up because I'm like, man, they're doing all this crazy shit now, and 10 years ago, the biggest conflict was moving a boulder.
Yeah.
How far we've come.
Yeah. No, I get that. And I definitely was thinking the same thing of like, do I really want to go back to season 1? But that's why I was just like skipping around. I was just sort of like looking for the thematic stuff that kind of ties in back towards the ending versus like the plot points of like the boulder or like the stuff to get to those revelations. So
Yeah, and I know a lot of people love season 1 also for like the nostalgia factor, and a lot of people think it's like the best looking Attack on Titan season and like the best adapted Attack on Titan. So I definitely get a lot of the season 1 love, even if I don't feel the same as much. But I don't know if I could possibly go back and rewatch it since it's been so long at this point. But I think it's knowing what happens later that would like keep me going.
Yeah, I feel like having the knowledge kind of just helps to kind of look for those things, and it's like more of an interesting watch.
Yeah. And I think Attack on Titan is one of the few shows when you say that like, okay, season 1 exists how it is, and you're like, okay, in 2 seasons this is going to be a completely different show. You actually mean it. It's not just exaggerating to get people to stay with it. It's like, no, for real, it's actually gonna totally change.
I don't want to commend Mappa, but I do want to say that like now looking at the whole series now being completed after like 10 years, it's like kind of a crazy feat, like just to like in all of its parts. And usually like a lot of anime don't ever get to fully finish, and like it's kind of crazy that like just it mostly besides Erwin's face and stuff, like mostly maintained most of the quality, and got to the end and was fully adapted. So I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think Wit and Mappa did good jobs in like different ways, but they both did good, And I'm glad, as you said, for a full adaptation.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're in the era of full adaptations.
Yeah,
I feel like this was not always a thing, but like everything that gets to a second season now is getting like fully adapted.
They're in it for the long haul.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking forward to season. I don't even know how many seasons of My Hero Academia there are now.
Like 6, right?
I think it's even more than that.
I think it might be.
Or they're
7.
going to do 7. They're going to do 7.
7 or 8.
Wow.
It says 7 has a release date of April 2024, season 7.
Okay, there we go.
They always come in the spring. They got that consistency down. Yeah. Yeah, I think it was kind of cool. It's like the end of an era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Culmination of a lot of stuff has happened. Like what?
Oh no, you go ahead.
No, you can go. I was just making like a filler comment.
Okay, I'm gonna do a filler question of who's everyone's favorites by the end.
Hanj is still forever my beloved.
Yeah.
Beast.
I think Hanj and Erwin are my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. Zeke.
I like Zeke. I like Zeke a lot too.
Oh, you know what? Actually, best part of the whole finale was Zeke
when
coming out.
Levi's tease him.
Yeah, Zeke comes out. He's like, it's such a wonderful day, and Levi's just like, fuck you, die, bitch. I love how much Levi hates Zeke.
That shit is so funny.
One of the I didn't like the one change in subs, and maybe it's just the subs I watched, whatever. When he sees the fake Zeke, who's like throwing rocks and shit at them, and he says there he is, like the Beast Titan or whatever. In the original manga, which I've had so much mileage with, he says that fucking monkey, and I wish they kept that in there, which goes so much harder and feels so much better.
That fucking monkey,
and that feels so visceral, where he's like, hobbling along and just like has to like take him out as like his final thing, and he's like, this fucking monkey getting in my way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Zeke Levi enmity is the best through line of the whole series.
Yes. I love that.
I'm sure someone has like compiled a scoreboard of like every time they meet.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see that.
Yeah, that is a ghetto moment. Every time I hear the word monkey, I just think it's Suguru. Damn it.
Oh yeah.
Shaw, you didn't say your favorites.
It's probably not surprising. It's still Levi. That sounds so depressing, but no, I think like he's always been great. I like what he represents also in the story. I think still like Levi, Erwin. I'm really turned on a third because I think Hanji's up there too, and I kind of like having the trio as like my top 3. But I also really grown to like John a lot. He's just like a good everyday man. Like grimy, but also like understandable. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like cool. Jean is the ultimate everyman character because he's been there literally the entire series.
Yeah.
I don't have anything negative to say about him, but I also don't feel like I have anything positive to say about him either.
Funny enough, he's who I really grew to appreciate when I was rewatching season 1. That's one of the things that like stuck out. Yeah, because when he's at the beginning and he just wants to be in the military police and he's just like a huge scumbag. And then Marco dies, of course. And then he's like motivated by Marco's death to like, try and fight for what Marco would have wanted. And seeing how that's developed, especially with his like, not rivalry, but like tension with Reiner, finding out that like Reiner and them killed him. Like that was like really compelling. So he's grown on me a lot.
Remember that Marco?
Sounds cool.
Why didn't they see Marco in the clouds? I was wondering that. Like, why don't they see him? He was like a big motivator. Where the fuck? Did he just not make the cut?
Yeah, nobody remembers him at this point.
Even John.
Everyone is more sad about Bertold than they are about Marco.
Yeah. I was waiting for Armin to be like, I stole your Titan, I stole your memories, I stole your girl, I stole everything. Yeah. So, do you guys have a score overall? Is it too soon?
I think like as a series, I'd give it like probably a strong 8. I did Let me see. Let me pull up my Annie list because I have all my ratings. Oh wait, I posted on Twitter. I don't know why I'm searching that.
Did you move over to AnyList or are you still on Mal?
I still use both.
Okay. I don't know if I follow you on AnyList. I might, but I'm gonna be there.
So season 1 was 8.3. Season 2 is 7.8. Season 3 part 1 was 6.9. Part 2 season 3 was 9.3. Final season part 1 9.5. Final season part 2 9. Didn't give it a specific rating for that. And then the specials 8. So that probably averages to like a strong 8 at the very least.
Yeah. I'm thinking a strong 8 too.
So let's see. Apparently, way back in the million years ago, I gave season 1 a 7, season 2 6, season 3 7, season 3 part 2 was an 8, final season was a 7, final season part 2 was a 6.
Oh.
But looking back in retrospect now, I'm like, yeah, I'd give the whole series an 8.
Okay.
So
I like that.
I don't know. And now that I'm like thinking, like looking at the posters for these older seasons and like remembering what happens in them and stuff, I'm like, yeah, I don't think those were necessarily that good, but I think that everything comes together in such a good way, and like the tone changes so much while carrying forward all the stuff from the beginning with it and everything we were talking about earlier, that I think all of like the mediocre parts get kind of leveled out with the big picture, and that's really what sticks with me.
I can kind of see your rating being like the overall thing is greater than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What about you?
Anymore.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say anything surprising. Just strong 8. I think that's.
I think it's strong 8 too.
Yeah.
As I was originally, when I finished the manga a couple years ago, I was like, I think a strong 8, and I've really kind of been kicking the can until the anime came out to really think about like, okay, how do I actually feel about this series, knowing that they're going to change. And I feel like strong 8 is the perfect way to describe it for something that like I really enjoy. I mostly like really respect it. I think it has a lot of really like bold storytelling moves, as we've discussed, and like just doing different things, and it's overall like a really good experience. But there are like just small things that happen that keep it from being like my series, so to speak.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And I actually have to say too that reading the manga when I did, like I guess a couple years back, because I binged it real quick, and like I went through it and I was just kind of trying to get what's going on. There was a few things in like the last 10 or 11 chapters that weren't too clear to me. Like I just sort of kind of like skipped over because I was trying to wrap my head around everything. And I feel like the anime did a better job of like, because I was also kind of confused by like the whole paths thing at the time and like what was real, what was part of paths and whatever. So in the anime, it was like kind of more clear to me. So one of the things that I felt that was missing for me for that ending to like hit harder, work a little better with Eren is like I wish I could have gotten more into like his headspace beforehand versus like at the very end. And I guess I didn't remember that did happen in the manga because I wasn't sure about it. So when I rewatched, like when I watched Special 1 and that whole opening scene with Eren and the kids that are about to get stepped on and the cutting back and forth of like him and Marley and then what's going on in real time, that like really helped a lot. I'm like, oh, okay, no, this is actually really, really well done. And this is actually what I needed. So it made me like that and the other like tidbits that I rewatched helped me like feel more positively about like how the ending was like executed.
Yeah, I think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, I guess this series is kind of good.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Would you all say, I guess, would you say this is definitely an anime classic, even though it's just
A
finished? But like,
certified
it
hood
will...
classic.
Yes.
Yeah, this one's for this. I think the streets should respect it. Or just in normal people terms, yes. This, I think it'll live on as a classic. I think it'll live on as a series. I think that we're gonna continue hearing about like the ending and that ruining the series for a while. But I think that over time people will kind of move away from that. And then one like in like 5 years or so, people will like that's when people are like really gonna start to look back on it, and then people are going to do like 6-hour-long retrospectives on Attack on Titan, and then it's going to win back like public respect.
Yeah.
So
I think it's already moving in that direction.
So you don't think it's going to be like an Evangelion type of ending where like it's going to remain either talked about or polarizing to a certain extent for years to come? And I'm talking about the original ending. I know now we have like 2 other endings, so.
Yeah.
I think like the funny thing about it, like Evangelion ending, is that it's famous for having been controversial at the time, but very few people who like Evangelion now would say that the ending is bad. or like indeed that the ending is like anything but perfect.
Yeah.
Whereas I can't imagine we'll get to a point in discourse where people will look at Attack on Titan and be like, actually, everything the ending did was correct. You know, I think it will always be remembered as the ending did some weird shit that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But so maybe I'd compare it more to like a Death Note in that case, where everyone's like, the end of Death Note sucks, but people love it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way.
Or I would say it might be like it might be like Naruto, where like sure maybe the very end it kind of fumbles, but overall like the story was really solid.
Yeah, I think that's accurate.
And I'm personally of the opinion that like sure the ending was like not great, but I don't think it really matters that much, just in general.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say there's anything they did that was bad. Just a lot of stuff that made me question why.
Yeah. It's about the journey, not the destination.
Right.
It's all about family, and that's what's so powerful about it.
Family is everything. Just imagine like Zeke, Eren, and like Grisha standing together with like a classic family is everything.
I just can't get over the end credits.
Do you think
I've
they
gotta
took
loop it
away?
back around. Yes. Oh my god.
So you do
I think that took
okay.
away.
So you think
I literally, while watching that, was like, oh, this must be the part that everybody hated.
So
so
yeah, we
funny.
didn't talk about it. What you guys thought about the end credits, actually? Like,
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm gonna be back in like 1 minute. I have to use the bathroom like so bad.
Okay.
Okay.
You can keep talking though.
Like, I thought it was neat at first. I was like, oh yeah, the city's like growing up in the background as time passes, and then you know there's like the helicopter that explodes, and then the artillery, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. And then it keeps going to like cyberpunk future city. I was like, okay, maybe taking it a little too far. Like, you could have left it in the modern era and we get it. And then the city gets nuked.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Like, I got it. I got it like 10 transitions ago. This is just a little much. You know, I said it briefly earlier on, but I was like, this is the ending to Platinum End. This is just as bad.
Damn. That's. I barely know anything about Platinum End, but I know that's a harsh comparison.
Do you know what the ending of Platinum End is?
No, but you can tell me.
Okay, everybody who gives a shit about Platinum End in the chat, plug your ears. Platinum End ends with God dying and then the human race going extinct.
Okay.
Like,
So,
just
yes.
out of nowhere. Like, the story ends and then they're like, and then everybody in the world died. And then some like aliens that have not been in the movie at all comment on like humanity's extinction and fly away.
Okay. That's a bit interesting. That's a bit interesting.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
So that's how I felt about the end credits.
I feel like it's a bit better than that, if only because they're showing like way in the future that like human nature won't change. But I do get your point of where you're like, okay,
like it's a little over the top. Like it's a little much.
yeah,
Like, but was it supposed to, like, the montage, be like, okay, it's speeding through like maybe like 2,000 years in the future?
yeah,
And it's connecting back to, you know, the original with the Emir, like the 2,000 to me, 2,000 years in the future thing. And like that's the next part of the cycle, I guess.
Well,
that's
but
what
then
I took it as.
Okay.
possibly the most questionable thing about it is that after the city gets nuked, there's the shot of like the boy finding the tree and like walking into the cave that looks identical to the cave that Emir found the Titans in
Yeah.
the flashbacks. So like, so is the actual like final point that really none of it mattered at all and the Titans aren't gone? Like, what are you doing? It's just totally inexplicable why
I think I heard someone
they would
say.
choose to end the series on that.
I think I heard someone say that it signifies also like humanity's curiosity and like the need to like always just see like what more is out there and to kind of like explore, which is like I don't know, like has been there since like the beginning of the series. So instead of like it being a bitter note of like like oh it's just nothing mattered and it's just gonna repeat itself and the Titans are gonna be back, it's just like the potential for just things happening as long as humans like live and want to seek out things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they're trying to imply that like the boy going into the tree will find the Titan power or something, or if that's like completely gone, or if he's just like human discovery. Because I would definitely prefer he's just like finds this tree and is discovering things in this like post-apocalyptic world rather than like Attack on Titan all over again, you know?
Yeah, because if it is that, then I agree with Citrus. That would take away from it, and I'd be like, all right, guys.
Well, because they never fully address what happened to the primordial worm thing, right? Like,
yeah,
they're fighting the worm and they're fighting Eren, and then Eren dies, and then it like flashes forward to everyone being happy. Like they literally do not address what happened to the worm at all. And maybe we're just supposed to like assume that it disappeared when Ymir decided that Titans should go away, but also the worm thing predated the Titans, so I could totally see an interpretation that like the worm is still in Eren's head and the kid like finding his gravesite would find the worm again. I don't know.
Yeah. It toes this line of like leaving it up to interpretation and then overtly telling us things, and flashing back and forth between both makes it like, okay, but what does that mean?
Right. It's like I love an ending that's left up to interpretation. I have no problem with that. But when like pretty much any possible interpretation violates the point that you were trying to make with the ending in one way or another, then that confuses me. Yeah. And I do admittedly feel a bit confused too. And I feel like I should have figured out by now what that's supposed to mean, but I've been punting it to the future.
If we go back to maybe his comment from the New York Times article, maybe he was just trying to say we were never free all along. You know?
So he's coming back with another manga. He's back. We're so back.
Let's talk about the actual thing we need to interpret. Jean and Mikasa. Did it happen? Did it not?
Yes, that's the real question. That is a good question. Is it supposed to be implied?
Because I felt like it was implied. I don't know. The read on it like was more from like the manga, and I felt like it wasn't there in the anime as much. Because I think in the manga it showed like a guy with a hat with long hair behind Mikasa at the gravesite. There was a kid. And it was like
it's really hard to tell because it's so small. Someone
pointed out that Jean like was growing out his hair to like impress someone. So I don't know.
If you're Jean and you know,
I did love that line where they're like, "Who are you trying to impress, dude?" It's like the girls reading the history books in the future.
They have such a good funny back and forth of like, what do you mean, like Horse Digest? And he's like, it's like a shame you're having your full life back. Like, that's was so really funny. Good. I would have loved like a lot more just dynamics with them. Okay, it's definitely Jean, right? Is that definitely Jean? Let's see. Everyone in chat, is that Jean?
That's clearly Psycho Helmet from season 3 of Mob Psycho.
Yeah, I feel like in the manga the panel's like more close up, so you kind of like.
Let me check the manga version.
In the anime, they just like, yeah, you don't need to focus on this little detail.
I'm just gonna say it. If you're Jean and you know how much Mikasa is like obsessed with Eren, like after his death and everything, and like, do you still go for that? Like, it's kind of like, you know,
I think he's gonna take what he can get.
But have some self-respect, you know? Like, you're always gonna play second to Eren.
Yeah.
Is this the ending that the Erased fans wanted?
That's it.
Congratulations,
it all makes sense
everybody.
Now. That's so true. When you put it in context of Erased, it all makes sense. I'm gonna look at the manga version.
I feel like I'm trying to decode, surveillance footage in like an FBI office here. getting super close zooms of the lowest resolution images imaginable.
Okay, now enhance.
All right, now you gotta pull the manga panel.
Okay, I'm gonna screenshot it and send it in chat so we can have multiple.
Multiple views, multiple angles.
I like how they just don't.
Here, interesting detail that I think we're just like totally leaving behind. So in part of that credits scene, we get Mikasa's grave, which I feel like that's pretty easily implied.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
There are 4 flowers on the grave. So Eren, Mikasa, Jean, and the kid.
Maybe would Armin get buried there too? Would Armin move on?
I feel like Armin would have to be buried with Annie though.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are they all just buried there? Is that where the cast is buried?
Maybe it's Eren, Mikasa, Armin, and Annie.
I don't know. That's a good question. Someone said, "Did you see the tweet comparing Jean and Mikasa to Will Smith and Jada, saying Eren is Tupac?"
My God.
I saw that. That's so funny.
Wait, hang on.
Oh, 4 flowers, 4 years.
Just one.
Oh, each year is a flower.
Keep my wife's name out your fucking mouth!
Had to do it for the culture. I don't know. I guess it's like the Witch from Mercury. It's all open to interpretation.
I think let's do a group poll. Is that Jean? Yes or no?
Oh, I think we actually can do polls. How does that work? How does YouTube work?
I don't know.
I
Were
don't
we ever
know
able to
either.
do that?
Like YouTube chat does have a poll feature.
I like that they also showed
I'm
the father of like Historia's child in the background.
Yes,
one
Farmer
shot.
Coon.
And it's the same guy that they told us it was way back when she got pregnant, guys.
That was
that was always the funniest thing to me, was like the conspiracy theories about Eren being the father. And it's like, they literally told us who the father is. This isn't
He's
a mystery.
the cover.
All right. Did Mikasa and John? That is the question. Yes. No. Start poll. Vote now on your phones.
I'm going yes. What do y'all think?
I personally have no dog in this race. I can't say I care all that much, but you know what? Why not? Yes.
I gotta look at the images again.
One's on screen. You have to zoom in a bit more.
Let's see. Do we see?
I mean, Jean was taller than Mikasa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
He fits the profile, right?
I was trying to see if like Mikasa had or if this mysterious woman had a scarf in either of these images.
I think that's the scarf around her, right?
Is there? I can't tell.
The shawl.
Oh wait. Oh. The scarf wasn't that like big, right?
Yeah.
Has she moved on from the scarf after getting with John? Is that disrespectful? Is that disrespectful if you're like, hey, like we're married and with a kid, can you like chill on the scarf?
Can you get rid of the scarf?
Please don't wear the scarf in public, honey.
I think it's him based on the coloring of his hair in the bottom right picture. I think I've been swayed.
We've got 83% for yes out of 12 votes. So that's probably like a 10-2 vote.
Yeah.
All right, so canonically that is John and Mikasa. The people have spoken.
The people have spoken.
10 people have decided. That's all we need.
That's it.
Including us, frankly.
It's one of those things that it's like, yeah, just leave it open to interpretation, because justifying how you're going to be like, so Jean gets with Mikasa after turning her down their entire lives because of Eren, and she's not really over Eren and never will be, but we keep moving forward. Like, okay.
We gotta. Someone asked in chat, if Armin is free of Titan powers, does he still have a subconscious desire for Annie?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so. I think it just became conscious.
I mean,
It manifested.
Armin liked Annie before he had Titan powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's true. So I guess Berthold amplified them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stole his girl.
Yeah, stole everything. Poor Bertold. Well, I don't know if I have anything else.
I've said everything I have to say about it.
Said my
Attack on
piece.
I
Titan.
think so too.
This was
I'm
fun.
done talking about it for the rest of my life.
You know,
Good riddance.
We're all gonna keep moving forward in our lives.
yeah. This was fun to do. It was fun to follow this series from like, I don't know when we started following it actually. Season 4, the final?
Yeah, we started
Is that
doing
when we
this series for final season.
You
Because
know,
frankly,
it's
we
been
thought
fun.
we thought
When
the
we
final
thought it was
season.
the final season.
Yeah, we thought that was all. That's so funny looking back on it. Like we really thought that was all it was going to be. We had no
Is this-
idea.
Out of all of the series that we've done weekly series of, I think this one possibly had the best conclusion.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Violet Evergarden, Steins
Yeah.
Gate Zero, The Promised Neverland, of course. That's not even in the running.
Oh, what
The first season of Promise Never Weekly was so much fun, though.
It was nice.
That was fun.
That was like the peak podcast era.
What are we going to do now that we don't have a weekly series to talk about? We got to find a new weekly series.
Let's find a new weekly series. We could do it.
Me and Panic would totally do one for
Non-Machi. No, wrong one. No, Dungeon. No.
Dungeon Meshi.
Dungeon
yeah.
Meshi. That was
Except
crucial.
I don't think there'll actually be that much to talk about episode to
Dungeon
episode.
Meshi.
Well, we could also, if people want us to do a weekly series on something,
I think it would be
Let us
possible,
know.
yeah.
let us know. We can do that.
It'll-
we have the
it'll be like,
technology.
Dungeon Meshi Weekly will be like Panic combing through everything, being like, they changed this. How
Yeah.
dare they?
He can be the
Dungeon
me of it.
It's another series that like the scope grows a ton, but at the beginning it's just kind of like episodic, like gag cooking. And I doubt they will get in the first season like to the point where the story like starts to spiral. So
Yeah.
I wonder.
anyway,
If I was wondering, I'm trying to find if it's like a 2-core series. It hasn't been confirmed.
Hope so.
Because if it was 2 cores, then maybe it'd make more sense as a bi-weekly series.
yeah.
Bi-weekly. Oh no.
Oh no, what?
Someone said, do y'all like isekai? And I'll have to be like, ugh. I'm sorry, that me. I respect others who do like isekai, but not me. I'm on a... No, I'm not even saying that. I was going to say I'm on like a no-hate diet, but like, no. We're still
Actually,
there.
you do hate.
I do hate. In my heart.
You know, someone mentioned Freyrin. That could actually be like a thing we could come back to because we did the first 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Now there are like, how many episodes out? Like another 4?
9 out.
Okay.
Yeah.
To do it when the series is over.
No, just do like every 4 episodes. Like a monthly
That would be
thing.
funny.
Yeah. Has Fragment
Aaron,
stayed good? I
monthly.
haven't watched
It's
any of
good.
it since
The
we did
latest
the...
episode was really good.
I've heard
Okay, sweet.
really great things about it. I'm going to
Okay, awesome.
catch up to that this week.
I've been I'm now in like the part of my anime watching career where I'm like not watching anything new. I'm just like watching stuff with my partner who hasn't seen any anime. So
Nice.
we're watching Golden Kamui right now.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
And we're getting close to the end of season 2, which is so choice, so peak. So I'm super excited for that, and then to get to season 4, which I have actually not seen of it.
Oh. I haven't seen
I
that
have-
either yet.
Yeah, I have to catch up because I remember between season 1 and season 2, there was like an OVA that covers stuff, and I like was like, okay, I'll just read the manga for it. So I've been meaning to get back to that.
I've never watched any of it. Always heard good things though.
Yeah, gotta get back
It's
to
a great
that.
series.
Yeah.
I just got a manga reader app on my phone because like I have like this buffer period at work where long story short, there's usually like an hour where I just kind of like sit by myself and don't have anything to do. So I'm like, oh, I'll read some manga, and I'm gonna finally try reading Golden Kamui at some point. Do that
Hell
before the last season of the anime comes out.
Yeah. Well, I need to get over my Jujutsu Kaisen brain rot, so we're gonna keep talking about that sooner maybe sooner than people realize. We'll find out.
Yep. Oh, speaking of me at my job, fun fact about Attack on Titan, I guess this was basically the first anime I saw aside from like Naruto or stuff I watched as like a little kid. It was the first anime I saw that kind of like got me into anime now, and it was right after I got out of high school, and simultaneously was pretty much right when I started working for real, and I stayed at that job until 2 months ago, where I finally got out of there, and it's been a big life improvement for me personally, and I like to think that it's me moving forward in real life. So
nice.
Now that I'm Attack on Titan has like perfectly aligned with this timeline of me working this one job.
That's awesome. It really is the end of an era.
Absolutely.
That is perfect. I think that's perfect. That's also the perfect note to end it on. Your like actual self-growth and reflection.
Yeah. Unless any of y'all have anything to add to that, because it's been a long time since Attack on Titan started.
No,
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
I like that.
That's good. That's perfect.
We're all good.
Nailed it.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for checking out this live stream, listening to this podcast, listening to all of us talk about Attack on Titan for 2 hours. I didn't actually think it'd be that long. Us on the Tokyo Podfathers, we're going to be back next week at some point. Next weekend, we're going to talk about Pluto. Been watching that, and it's pretty cool. And then Bex and I are going to talk about something else that'll probably come out later. And then we've got Just Weebs with Sha King and Onimaru. What are you guys up to?
Is now a good time to announce our podcast plan for this week.
Ooh.
Yeah, if they go through.
Yeah, we will tentatively be doing a full series discussion on Jujutsu Kaisen. Last time we just talked about the big chapter, and now we're going to talk about the whole series,
manga.
the whole manga. So we're probably going to do that on Wednesday. So
Yeah, do like a live stream Wednesday evening, possibly. We will announce it.
we will announce it if it happens. If anyone in the future is listening to this and it doesn't happen, sorry, but that is our tentative plan.
Well, that sounds like that sounds great. All right, well, we're going to keep moving forward, and hope you guys in the audience